We'll have like, hey, we're live, Nicole. Happy Wednesday. How are you?
Happy Wednesday. I'm doing great. I'm here in the Big Easy today.
Hey,
Living it up.
so man, I was gonna say it doesn't look like you're in Virginia, like you're hanging out in the Big Easy. Like what's going on in the Big Easy? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm here for an amazing content marketing conference. We've been learning all about AI and video, short form video. So it's been really great. It's been a really good conference. My brain is just full of knowledge. I love it. It's awesome.
Oh man. Well, I'm going to be a sponge. Can't wait to get all that information out of you. So, all right. So everybody out there, this is week number 2, man. This is like our maiden voyage, more or less, for manufacturing e-commerce success on Wednesday. And so just absolutely honored and just thrilled to be here with everybody. So we're going to go around the horn. We have a really exciting deep dive e-commerce project that we're going to unpack. And so, hey, let's start. We have a really great batting lineup. It is a baseball playoffs for any baseball fans out there. So, hey, let's go down to Texas. I think Texas Rangers are in the playoffs. So Chris Watson from U.S. Air Filtration, my friend. Happy Wednesday. How are you?
Doing well, Kurt. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So you know what? All right, batting second. You know what? We're sliding up to Portland. So Noah Oken-Berg, my friend from above the fray. Happy Wednesday. How are you, dude?
I'm doing great. Better in front of your face, Kurt.
Oh my God. You say that to all the guys, Noah. So thank you. I appreciate that. So, hey, let's go down to hey, Nicole, we're sliding right down to your old stomping grounds. We're going to head down to LA for a little bit, right? You're a Southern Cal girl. So Timothy Lee from Magento, Adobe. Timothy, how are you? Happy Wednesday.
Happy Monday. Just absolute pleasure to be with you, Kurt. So appreciate the invite.
Hey, thank you. It's an honor, privilege. And Nicole, wait till you hear Timothy's background. So Timothy, I did a little stalking. Did I say stalking? I did a little checking you out. You're an e-commerce powerhouse. So appreciate you being here. So of course we got Nicole Donnelly from DMG Digital. Nicole, how excited.
So this conversation has been years in the making. I am so excited to be here with Chris. Man, Chris, we have some scars, don't we? You and I, when it comes to e-commerce.
A few, yeah.
You know what? Just you put like a little vitamin D, vitamin E. You put on one of those, and it takes those scars right away. Or you bring Noah Oken-Berg from above the house, and then those scars just vanish quickly. So, all right. So we're gonna do introductions, guys. Let's get who's on stage here. Chris Watson, my friend. You are the grand poobah, if you will. That's my title for you. But you are at U.S. Air Filtration in Tyler, Texas. Please share who and what is U.S. Air Filtration.
Yeah, so we're an industrial dust collection manufacturing company. So we manufacture, design, and install dust collection equipment, bag houses, cartridge collectors, bin vents, as well as providing replacement parts for our collectors as well as other brand collectors of all types. So, one of our specialties, kind of the differentiator for our company, is our commitment to a level of higher personal service. And so it's one thing that really drove us to e-commerce, and something we're hoping that can really help us, provide that level of service that our customers have come to love and expect from us, at all hours of the day.
All right, fantastic. And that's exactly what e-commerce does. It makes you, you're in business 24/7. Nicole, what do we love to say? How can we help those ideal buyers make a buying decision on a Friday night at midnight without having to wait for us to open up the door on Monday morning? And you know who's the best at that? Is this handsome devil right below me. So Noah Oken-Berg, who and what is above the fray? Dude, you came in to save the day for U.S. Air Filtration. Share a little bit about who is above the fray.
Yeah, first of all, I'd take none of the credit for saving the day on either side of the equation. All of the blood, sweat, and tears that were poured into it by Nicole and Chris to get to the point to bring us in the door, and then my team that did all the work afterwards. So I just helped connect the dots. But we're above the fray is going about 6 years now, but have been in the e-commerce industry for much longer than that. We are a fully integrated e-commerce agency that specializes in working with B2B, specifically manufacturers and producers. That's really just a personal thing. I like to work with the folks that are making things, building things, and putting things out to the world. as does Aaron, my business partner, and our chief creative officer. So we decided that's who we wanted to work with. The other piece of it too is, we spend so much time in front of computers. We like to work with people that are actually building things and making things, in the physical world. And so, I always say, spend enough time with your head in the clouds. I like to have my feet in the dirt. That's just a little bit on us. Again, the joy of something like this is getting to walk in when there has been so much work that's been paved ahead of time that Nicole and Chris and their team have done to actually make it possible. And Kurt, not to minimize your role in all of it either. So, and we'll get to that later, though.
Well, thank you for the acknowledgement. Thank you for your humility. And so, just firsthand, I've had the honor and privilege, dude. We're on like our 3rd year anniversary, Noah. So we've been working with manufacturers for the past several years, multiple projects. It is truly an honor, privilege working with you. My respect, admiration off the charts. I just love working with your team. And so that was just great, having this little party come together with the folks down in Tyler, Texas at U.S. Air Filtration, and Nicole and her team at DMG. So let's slide over to our friend in LA. So now, Timothy Lee, you work for this really tiny company. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it before, called Adobe. So can you please share Adobe, Magento, what's going on in your world, being the e-commerce extraordinaire that you are?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Kurt. I mean, when we talk about the opportunity here at hand with U.S. Air Filtration, it was really a right timing with yourself, Kurt, Noah, great partnership and kind of delivery of what Adobe has been working on strategically for the past 3 to 4 years. So when we talk about the investments that Adobe has made, we really look at the B2B feature set as well as features that we're using to evolve the core commerce functionality and its auxiliary services. Things like third-party catalog services to allow true B2B merchants to expand their catalog services or order volumes upwards, or quote unquote scalable to limit unlimited scalability, quote unquote. We've all heard those terms. So it's really exciting to see what Noah and the partners are doing. Adobe Commerce as a whole, if we talk about the roots with Magento, really began as an open source solution with the ability to connect into disparate systems, giving users the ability to create one-off customer experiences or unique e-commerce websites that drive basic baseline functionality with connected services into things like your CRM or your ERP, which are really important for U.S. Air Filtration. So, it's really great to see the technology investments that Adobe has made are still resonating with businesses today. And moving forward, we see a lot of that with our AI and different feature sets that are coming up on the roadmap.
Well, I absolutely love that. So now, Nicole, back to our batting order, like our powerhouse, our batting cleanup. So now you're going to take the charge here. But what I absolutely love, Noah, when we pulled you into the project, we're like, there's a lot of different shopping cart solutions. Timothy, we'll dig into that a little later. But your team came in and said, like, hey, we need to bring in the big dogs. We need to really get some muscle behind this project. You pulled in a team from Adobe Commerce. This was great. Nicole, as you mentioned, you are totally vested into this project. This goes super deep. Take it away. Let's get a conversation going with you and Chris on how this process got going.
Yeah. So Chris, I think we need to share a little bit about what inspired you, led you down this path of e-commerce, and what were some of the problems that you were really wanting to solve? I think you talked about it a little bit, but maybe you could share a little bit more about what led you down this journey. What were you hoping e-commerce would do for U.S. Air Filtration? What problems specifically did you want it to solve for the business?
Yeah, so one of the things that we realized years ago is that that personalized service, that exceptional customer experience, like as we call it here in the office, was something that our customers really appreciated. Both on the equipment side and the replacement parts. When you're talking about industrial equipment, it's not something that is, especially dust collectors, it's super flashy. It's something that most people don't like to think about until there's a problem. But when there's a problem, it's important. And so giving that level of service to our customers, they really appreciate it. We're helping them organize their parts. We're helping them keep things in line so that when something comes up, we can solve problems quickly. And so, that being one of our core principles, this higher level of personalized service, we wanted to find a way to extend that beyond just the normal business hours. We have a dedicated team of people in here, and they can only take so many calls, right? They can only help so many people, and we didn't want to limit our customers to that. We don't want our customers to get voicemails. We want them to have somebody that's able to help them. And we said, okay, well, how can we extend that to off hours, right? A lot of the projects that our customers are working on happen, the night shift. So the bag house can be up and running the following day, or weekends, holiday weekends, stuff like that. Times when they may not have somebody that they can call and get on the phone right away and help find the solution. So we looked, first we looked at a handful of things, working weekends that got shot down pretty quick, 20-hour days that didn't go over well. So we looked at a lot of different things, but we landed on e-commerce as a way to kind of extend that level of service, right? So now anytime of the day, somebody can log on, they can use or they can access our resource center to try to troubleshoot things that may pop up. They can order products right there, check that off their list so they don't have to worry about that come Monday. The requisition lists are things that help people organize the parts for specific pieces of equipment. So now they can order things quickly or request quotes for things quickly and confidently knowing that, yes, this is the correct part that goes to, the one of the 15 bag houses that I have on hand. All those type of things are the things that I believe our customers value about working with us, and things that we take pride in doing and helping our customers with. And, luckily we were able to offer a lot of those services through our e-commerce store.
I really love that. I think that really speaks to, I think one of the challenges that a lot of B2B manufacturers are grappling with is how to have an e-commerce solution while also maintaining the tradition and the legacy of that sales rep relationship, right? And I think at U.S. Air Filtration, what you guys have really been able to do and so well is to really position e-commerce as supporting that sales rep relationship. It's really elevating the sales reps to be able to handle more, complicated custom orders offline and allowing them to do more by having this e-commerce store there. So rather than e-commerce competing with the sales rep, it's really there to support them. And I think that is a mindset that a lot of manufacturers are really, really struggling with, as how can you marry this with that traditional business model? What do you keep and what do you throw away? And I think that's what's really exciting about this is that you've really been able to come up with a solution here that really you're able to preserve that wonderful tradition that U.S. Air Filtration has been built on, that relationship, while still, being able to modernize and meet your customers where they are in that way. So it's very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Noah, we're coming to you. We're coming over to you.
Yeah.
What were I love what you said earlier about how, you were just passionate about supporting manufacturers. I love it too. It's so cool to see these wonderful companies making all this cool stuff. What do you think, what were some of the unique challenges that USAF had as you and your team were planning for this project? What were some of those unique B2B manufacturing challenges that you feel like you addressed through the store that was really exciting for your team and for the project?
Yeah. And, in the spirit of full disclosure, I'm not an engineer, and I don't develop code. I work on developing business. And so my approach, my answer to that's probably going to be seen through that lens a little bit more. And I think as far as challenges and the way things that I enjoy, working with manufacturers and to help solve, and similarly with U.S. Air Filtration, is less on the specific nuts and bolts of it, and it's more on that transformational side. And that's kind of going back to what I was saying, in the beginning when Kurt was unfairly trying to give me credit for, or Nicole was trying to unfairly give me credit for saving anything here. But there's so much that needs to be done to change a business that has been offline entirely to online, even partially. And that is the biggest obstacle. We come on site and we do full discoveries where, we sat down with you, Chris, and Nicole, and Kurt, you were there. And, we have some of the best and brightest folks, like looking at all the ways that business systems interact and the workflows and processes of the manufacturing, and getting to tour the site there and kind of see the challenges and see the sort of idiosyncrasies and also the wins and the ways that you solve problems uniquely. That's all great, but none of that really matters unless, you know, you can get that mindset of the entire team, and it takes a full buy-in too. And it's not like a waving of a magic wand. It's not like abracadabra, you're online and you're all good with it. You know, it's definitely, you know, it's I mean, I wish,
only, right, Chris? If
Yeah.
only.
Yeah. Back to the scars. And I think actually that's actually, I wrote some of the original copy for our website back in the day before we had actual copywriters and stuff to help us, like, and I wrote that. I was like, you know, we're a product of our scars, and that's true, and that's what it's built out of. And if you and Chris hadn't, you know, put in the work and been in the trenches to get those scars, it would be impossible for us to walk in and do what we needed to do. And you know, and Kurt as well. I mean, you mentioned how long we've worked together, Kurt, and we've worked together with folks that are manufacturers. This is not a one-off thing. This is actually the rule. It's not the exception. That, you know, there needs to be those challenges need to be approached first, and so, you know, before any of the other things can happen. I know that was a really sort of pie in the sky answer, but
yeah, you totally hit the nail on the head. You know, there needs to be an internal e-commerce champion, if you will, that is really invested in kind of leading and getting buy-in from the team and helping to influence, but really listen and understand. I think first and foremost is, like, you really have to know the business. That e-commerce champion really needs to know and understand the business deeply and commit to that, so that solution is made fully aware and inclusive of everyone that's a part of that company.
And then, as an agency that's coming in as a partner, we also, it's so easy to see through these lenses of, like, we do this all day, every day, and forget that this is like completely uncharted territory for folks. And, you know, even with people that have been doing it all day, every day, everybody sees through a different lens in the universe. That's just the way it works, right? And so, but imagine, you know, like, you know, somewhere that you've lived in and you know the terrain, there's mountains you've hiked in for years and you've hunted in or whatever, and like you bring somebody in for the first time, and they're just like walking real slow, like, oh my God, you know, where am I? And so it's like, you know, and you're like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you know this? So you have to understand that and be able to sort of, you know, work around that, and sort of go through the paces together in a collaborative way. And, you know, to me, that's the most important piece of it. But again, that's seen through, you know, business development, less than software development. So.
Yeah, but I think one of the things I think that, you know, because as Chris can tell you, we have our scars of, you know, several partners we worked with prior to ATF and Adobe. And one of the things I think we really valued about our partnership with ATF is that your team did take the time to make that investment up front to come out and understand the business, see how it worked and all of that. And I think for anyone out there who's considering an e-commerce partner or considering a project, especially manufacturers where this is like such a new world for them, they don't understand it. They don't understand e-commerce, and they need partners and who can help them, educate them, teach them, and take the time really to understand and listen and guide them along that journey, because it can be overwhelming. It can be very, very overwhelming. And yeah, I'm sure Chris can talk about that. Yeah.
It takes a lot of patience and trust and rinse and repeat, you know, so.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to come over to you, Timothy. Walk us through some of the features. Like, we're talking all about B2B manufacturing. What are some of the features of Adobe that you feel like are most important, that you're seeing are most important to B2B customers? What are specifically some of the functionality that folks, manufacturers specifically, could benefit from?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, Chris brought up some great ones already, including requisition lists, which allow customers to very quickly reorder based on existing lists, add and create different types of ordering or reordering behaviors. And so if we talk about kind of thematically, I think where Adobe really helps B2B businesses, I would bring it down to maybe 4 or 5 key areas. One would be the ability to have customized catalog and pricing. Now, having that baseline functionality allows us to extend ourselves into your ERP, where you might have customer-specific pricing and have that baseline functionality for great partners like Noah to create that unique work experience that you're looking to have, or that pricing type of functionality. Second, I would say would be the fast and efficient, I guess, purchasing options. So when we talk about the ability to quickly reorder SKUs, comprehensive order histories, reordering from past orders or negotiating quotes, Adobe Commerce really offers a lot of purchasing options that B2B users might tend to want to have available to them. And that also kind of lies in, I'd say, with the third theme, which is this idea of performant personalization. Adobe Commerce has really been one of the only e-commerce players in the space that has had a long-standing relationship with the ability to execute on both B2B and B2C. And what we've seen trending over time has allowed our B2B merchants to expect more of that B2C-like experience, where they would like frictionless purchasing. They'd like intelligent suggestions, quick order in and out. They're not looking to have the long-standing processes where they go through printed catalogs anymore. And while they want that option, we really are seeing and levying a lot of these kind of B2C-like behaviors with baseline B2B functionality. And the final one I'd kind of say is the ability to make advanced account management settings. So the ability for companies, I know that this is important for different users at different levels, to have workflow approvals that customers can have, the ability to have company account structures, so they have purchasing roles and approval workflows. Again, sorry, I didn't mean to mention that twice, but I'd say those are kind of thematically the big four in my head that I see resonate with a lot of our B2B, including our manufacturing users in the space today.
I love that. I think that last point is really key, because the purchasing decision so much in manufacturing for these deals is by committee, and there are several people that can be involved in it. So having a workflow in place where that will happen online is really beautiful. And then I think from the B2C experience too, one of the things that I think has really been great about, I'm just thinking about USAF's e-commerce store specifically, is the wonderful integration with like a Shipper HQ, where now customers can get instant freight quotes, not, which freight is a huge beast. As Chris will tell you, he was the one in his team that did all the legwork to figure that out. But the fact that someone can come on the store, click the part that they want, and be able to get an instant freight quote and have that all integrated is a really powerful B2C functionality that I think is really challenging in a B2B environment to be able to replicate. All right. Let's keep the party going here. We're coming back to Chris. All right, now that you've been going through this journey, and if you're thinking about like any other manufacturers who are just starting out with e-commerce and are thinking about it, and they're thinking about investing in it, what advice would you give to them as someone who's kind of like been through the trenches and is now kind of like, you're on the other side a little bit. I mean, e-commerce is a process. It's it's always going to be evolving and growing. But like now that you've completed this first real phase, what advice would you have for anyone else who might be considering?
Yeah, so I guess my biggest advice would be figure out the purpose of your e-commerce store first, right? And I think one of the things that we went into the very first time we even took a baby step into this, we just, let's just do it. Let's just go put some prices up, right? What could happen, or what harm could it do? And it just, it wasn't very successful. And I think this time with the help of ATF and DMG marketing, you guys, we all got together and figured out, okay, well, what is really the purpose of the e-commerce store? Like, what are we trying to do here with e-commerce? And it could be, fairly straightforward of, look, we just want to, put stuff online that people can buy. But for us, it was a little more complex, right? We wanted to have, the requisition list. We wanted to have the customer portal, and we wanted to do all that because that supported, the way that our company operated with our core goal of that experience, that personalized service. And so understanding that helped us guide, when we were trying to figure out what adders we wanted to do, what features were important to us, what features weren't, which things we needed now, which things we could push off to later. And without understanding, what the purpose was, I think that can be pretty difficult, pretty daunting.
That is such great advice too. And also it helps you prioritize, because I think as you're going into an e-commerce project, there's so much you can do. And a lot of times, we've worked with companies where they're just like, they have this shiny object syndrome and they just want to do it all. They see their competitor's website. They don't realize like how much went into building that. Right. And they're like, I want my website to look like that. And
Yeah.
you have to realize like, it's definitely a process. And so to your point, if you're a manufacturer, to understand that purpose can help you prioritize, well, if this is our goal and our purpose, what do we start with? And then how can we evolve from there rather than trying to, eat the whole elephant all at once.
Yeah.
I think
that'll get complicated quick.
What were you going to say, Noah?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just something that Chris, you said, and that you picked up on, Nicole, that struck kind of a thought that I think is super critical is, understanding. A lot of folks think that, oh, this is a website. This is just our website. It's a new business really inside your business.
Yes.
And when you were mentioning, what that end goal is, sitting back and saying, what's the purpose of this? That's what you have to do with any business. You have to, like, what's your vision? And that becomes your North Star. And so just like a business unit within a business, you have to have that North Star, or else I was in this world back when mobile apps were, the rage, right? I was before Aaron and I started our company, we actually worked somewhere that did e-commerce, custom software, and native mobile apps. And everybody was like, we got to do a mobile app. And we're like, for what? Because I don't know, it's a mobile app. It's like, I need an app, but they didn't know why. And you get some of that too with the e-commerce world. It's like, well, we got to do e-commerce because everybody's telling us to do it. And that's the flip side of the coin of the people that are like, we're never going to do e-commerce and hyper resistant, is the people that are like, well, I guess we got to do it. Let's just go do this e-commerce thing. But you have to approach it like it is its own distinct business, and have that vision and know why you're doing it. Like, otherwise it falls apart.
Can I throw in like one or two things as well? Because I just think this is like a phenomenal idea that Chris is talking about, which is, and Noah, and I want to kind of talk again to the fact that e-commerce, especially in the manufacturing space, is not a one size fits all. And given how manufacturing and B2B relationships have evolved over time, you have to work with not only an e-commerce platform that's extensible, but a partner that understands what kind of business relationships and priorities you're trying to push forward. Understanding your vision is critical in not only just giving yourself a differentiated vision, but really investing in e-commerce, not just as an additional revenue stream, but as an actual, what I would equate to, in the 80s as opening up a brick and mortar. You can't just set it and let it go. This requires time, effort, and dedication to constantly improving the customer experience and getting them committed to what your website and what your business offers.
Yeah,
that is such a great point. You're always going to be optimizing and having to continue to work and evolve based on the feedback that you're getting from the market. Very, very true. Man, go ahead, Noah, keep going.
I was just gonna say, but that's again back to that sort of, like, folk, if you haven't done that before, it's uncharted territory, and you can say that up front, but as flexible and as immersive as the experience you have, there are still times, Chris, and Nicole, like all of us have had friction points where that lack of understanding was like, wait, what's happening here? And it's just because it's uncharted territory. So if folks are watching this and want to take away something that's not just like the glossy shiny thing, it's that be prepared for friction ahead of time, no matter how diligent, upfront, trustworthy, hardworking everybody is in the equation. When you're doing something new, the best humans in the world will see things differently because maybe it's something they haven't seen before or been before. So that patience and that understanding, but also just knowing that, like Timothy said, it is a brick and mortar. And I think that mindset is so important, that it's like, this is not a product, this is an ongoing relationship. It's, you wouldn't just like put up a storefront and then not staff it, not, pay for the lights and not change the window clings and, not restock inventory, so the same types of things, you wouldn't, if it was making money, you would want to, expand, maybe buy the empty, store next door or rent that out, so all those things, just know that that's coming, to do it right, to do it the right way. If you don't want to do it, that way, then you can do it however you want. But
So true, because I think that what I'm hearing, what I love about this is that there's such an education that needs to happen before an investment is made in e-commerce. And that's what's, I think there's a gap there for these manufacturers. They just don't know or understand, like, this is a long-term investment, and here's why, and here's the things that you need to be thinking about, and how you can figure out what the purpose of your store is, and what needs to change, and what needs to stay the same, and what questions should you be asking through that journey. And I think there's definitely an opportunity from an education perspective that can be addressed there before, during, after. And I think partners like ATF and others who really take the time to not only just build the store, but also to educate. Like, there's such a need for that education so that manufacturers can really make the most of the investment and understand what it is that they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, I would say it's not even a need, it's a requirement, because there's folks we look at, and you know, we do our best to educate, but we need folks like you, Nicole, and Kurt, that are doing that much more actively and proactively before we come in, because we can take that baton and work from there. But if that hasn't, we've seen what happens, and it doesn't end well, no matter what. And really, like I said, great humans can end up, you know, at odds because it didn't start in the right place together.
Well, I think, you know, the big challenge, I love what you're saying there, Noah. The big challenge is manufacturers, God bless them, they, you know, they're the heroes of our economy. They are the backbone
100%.
of the country, and, you know, just making innovative and just great products on a daily basis. The challenge is they just don't know e-commerce, and why would they? They have no, you know, they bought on Amazon. They know their experiences. So they're like, well, hey, why can't I bring that to my business? And so unfortunately, they're, you know, Amazon's kind of like, you know, create such a high bar, or maybe Granger or some of the major marketplace, the industrial marketplaces that they're buying on. So they're like, hey, or even worse, they're starting to see their competitors. So what, you know, no, I want to slide in here for a second. So like, it's like building a house without hiring an architect first. You know, I'm like, hey, Noah, dude, just build me a house. You know, like, well, Kurt, do you want, you know, a couple bedroom? I don't, you know, just build me a house, dude. I want it to look like this. You know, like, do you have a budget in mind? But let's go here. I love when working with you, you always use the word agnostic, even though we have like there's a little party going on next week that we might talk about in New York City. But you're very agnostic with the shopping cart selection. Okay. So, and we'll talk about how amazing, how wonderful, Timothy, plug your ears, how great Adobe is. But talk about when you work with a client, you know, and I've been front row seat with you, and you're diagnosing it with your team. What's that shopping cart selection process? How do you walk people through that? Then Timothy, we're going to come back to you, and I want to dig into what's going on at Adobe deeper.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a super important element of it too, because just like Timothy said earlier, you know, one size does not fit all. And you know, we are platform agnostic. I mean, there are a couple that we focus on, and we've traditionally, you know, the majority of folks we work with are on the Adobe Commerce Magento platform. But our job is to bring the right solutions to bear for who's in front of us. And, you know, I think one of the things that can happen a lot in this industry that I've seen inside the belly of the beast is you work with a partner and agency that maybe only does, you know, one thing. And so that becomes the only thing that's the right thing for everybody. And you can get yourself in a lot of hot water. Adobe Commerce knows who they are. They're clearly differentiated. They know that they win, you know, 10 times out of 10 for certain demographic and certain requirements of a client. And there's some that just don't fit their platform and their needs. And so we want to make sure that, the shoe fits. And so, you know, we actually walked in thinking that maybe a different size solution might fit for U.S. air filtration. And you know, you guys were all part of this conversation. You remember this earlier. And because of some of these elements that, you know, that everybody's brought up, that Timothy, that you've been highlighting, and Chris, you know, we realized that there was no other solution in this case. So there's times where it's a little bit more of a gray area, but usually when you get down to the end of it, you know, we can typically do this through a pre-discovery phase, you know, before we actually come on site and do a deep dive. And, you know, we do some stuff before any contracts are signed where we get enough information that we can do that. Occasionally, we do have some of our clients. Just recently, we had a client that hired us that paid us to do an evaluation because they needed a much deeper dive into that, a platform evaluation. And so, you know, it's kind of, again, the rigor that's applied to that evaluation is not one size fits all either. Sometimes there is more gray area and you need to kind of do a deeper dive. Sometimes it's obvious, and after one conversation you can say there's no way it should be anything else but this. But it is an important piece of it, just like everything else. And it's not just for the e-commerce platform, but when you're talking about other business systems, working with somebody yesterday who's looking to right size an ERP. We're not ERP implementers per se, but we are integrators. We have a team that could implement it. It's just not, again, speaking of creating a whole new business, not a business that we've gone down into. And so, we have being a solutions integrator, which is really technically what we are, not a software agency or whatever, but I think that's what Adobe Commerce calls us, right, Tim? So, an SI, that's what we have to do. We have to look at all the different solutions and figure out the best ones to integrate.
Well, fantastic. And thank you for walking through. And again, if you're just joining us and you're like, man, I am chomping at the bit to get an e-commerce, boy, hit that rewind button and go back and just get that little replay of what Noah just said. Now, Timothy, I don't know. My mom thinks I'm for everybody, but you know what? I'm just not. It's just not, so God bless Mom, but I'm just not for everybody. Now, and I don't know if you're comfortable going here. Now, being, if I'm a USC grad, can I be an Adobe customer? I'm just curious, but anyway, so I know he's a big UCLA.
That was great.
So Timothy, other than USC alumni and graduates and fans, who is Adobe for? Or maybe are you comfortable saying who's not a great fit, right? If I'm a manufacturer out there and I'm listening to this wonderful, amazing conversation, and I'm like, I want to be where Chris Watson is, I'm Chris Watson a year and a half ago. I want to get caught up. So who are you for? Who are maybe you not for? How was that for a question, Timothy?
Oh, I love it. I mean, the setup, you have me still spinning right now, trying to think of how to respond to that. My Bruin pride is hurting, but I'll figure it out maybe later down the road. When we talk about businesses that are really well aligned with what Adobe Commerce is doing, I think it really depends on what segment we're focusing in. I've spent a majority of my career in the solution-led kind of segment where we're focusing on businesses that are really looking to acquire e-commerce, not necessarily, maybe for the first time, especially in B2B with manufacturing verticals from a homegrown platform or from a special type of one-off instance that they've maybe used for online portal type purchasing. But then we've also seen a lot of uptick in kind of large manufacturers looking at this in the telecom service like T-Mobile. So really, though, where my analysis has kind of fallen into is super in line. I was doing a little bit of research into just kind of doing year's end review as we round out our fourth quarter, looking into where we've found the most success over the past 2 years. And oddly enough, it's actually been in manufacturing, and we've seen quite a large uptick from fiscal year 22 to fiscal year 23 in the merchants, not just adopting, but also staying on the platform. And a big part of that commitment comes from our partners, such as the two of y'all, Kurt, Nicole, Noah over at ATF, making sure that these commerce platforms are successful in the space. And then the other half of it is the baseline technology that Adobe Commerce comes with, which again, as kind of Noah was alluding to, does fit in some scenarios 10 out of 10. And where we see that really making the right mix is when customers are highly invested into their customer experience, whether that be online or offline, or they're invested in creating a customer experience that creates either more attraction or a unique type of relationship with that online customer. Oftentimes, users who are coming to Adobe Commerce, when we talk about one size fits all, and again, I know Noah is above the Fray is a platform agnostic systems integration partner, and they've been a great partner to Adobe Commerce, as I'm sure they have for all the other platforms they've implemented, which I think is really a phenomenal value add. But when we talk about where kind of our bread and butter is and where we're seeing that going, I do see with things evolving and maybe we see in the product development things like evolution in catalog and pricing edge services. I'd mentioned a little bit earlier where We're quoting, upwards of over 500,000 SKUs per minute, indexation handling, sub 100 millisecond retrieval times for catalog and pricing data from our Edge catalog service. So getting it into that catalog service and calling it to the customer experience, having that reduced performance in the call to action of uniquely priced catalogs or different sorts of services such as that. So I really do think that, and I apologize if I'm missing the point here. Again, this might be my ruined brain.
This is perfect. Yeah.
Just no, when it comes to where we see the business heading, I do think it's really important that we understand that Adobe Commerce is designed to get you, 80-90% of the way there with the baseline functionality. But what makes this platform unique is those use cases and those not customized, but those specific or specialized cases that your business handles that, quite frankly, you should not be looking at an e-commerce platform to replicate. If that functionality comes out of box, it means that everybody in the space is doing it. So looking at something to create that flexible one-off behavior that has made US air filtration so successful, something that I think we're going to continue offering, including just creating adjunct services to make that more scalable and performant for our manufacturers as well as our higher enterprise customers.
Yeah, that's the part you need to rewind right there.
Yeah.
Not what I was saying, what he was saying there.
I think the whole program, and I know we could be geeking out all day. I could listen to this all day, Nicole. I know we're coming against time. Why don't we, I know you want to take us on a little tour of like, hey, let's drop the curtain on this wonderful, magnificent new website. Thanks to our friends at Adobe and above the Fray. And of course, Chris Watson and the team just really rolled up his sleeves. Joyce and team at Jason at DMG. Do you want to share your screen and let's take a little look? Let's do
it. Let's do a tour.
Noah, do you have a little drum roll from our DJ?
I am so excited to share and showcase this beautiful, beautiful, amazing store that ATF has built with Adobe and with Chris Watson. It's really quite exciting. So can you guys all see my screen okay?
Looks perfect. Yep, very good.
Okay, great. So one of the things I just wanted to add to Timothy to what you said is I think that's what's beautiful about Adobe Commerce is just it is such a long game that the flexibility of the platform really allows for that long-term approach to maybe the features that you have that you want to build today, you're not fully utilizing in Adobe, but down the line with the integration capabilities and all the things that you can and will do, there's just a lot of power there. So anyway, here is US Air Filtration. Isn't it a beautiful, beautiful place? Don't we all want to go and buy from US Air Filtration? So, okay. So this store is, if you come here, US Air Filtration sells replacement parts. The first thing that I think is amazing here is the search bar. More and more people, they want to get what they want quickly, easily. They don't want to have to search through catalogs. So what's amazing about this is if someone knows, for example, they're like, I need an Evo cartridge, and they just type in Evo. The search functionality here is just amazing. It'll just pull up anything with that specific requirement. Or if I want a specific material of filter media, for example, you can just pull in, oh, look, I spelled wrong. You can just pull it up and it'll just pull up all the products of that filter media. So all of these variants here on the left-hand side, you can, the user who's coming here, if they need something quickly, they'll be able to search. So I love that this is front and center. I think that's from a purchasing user experience, that's huge. And then looking at the catalog itself, for each replacement parts, we have this wonderful filter option here on the left-hand side where you're directed to the main, category page where you can see all the products within that category. But here on the left, you can filter by a number of different variants very quickly and easily. So if you're looking for a specific filter media, like I said, you can just click here and it's going to filter down those options. And this, speaking to like the B2C functionality here, just the simplicity of just simply adding to cart and updating your order here is just very, very seamless and straightforward. And one of the things that I love that's very beautiful about this process is that this is integrated with Shipper HQ, which when you set up, freight shipping is a huge problem for B2B manufacturers, huge. It's complicated, figuring out how to palletize these orders that are heavy and have crazy funky dimensions and you're ordering large quantities, to be able to figure out and get a freight quote instantly for products is a huge barrier that Chris and the team at U.S. Air Filtration really took a lot of time to build out. But what's beautiful about this is that someone can come and literally instantly be able to get a quote for shipping, and they can choose their shipping method right there. And then the other beautiful thing is that you can order by purchase order, by credit card, which is huge for B2B purchasers, just to be able to have the flexibility there. So that is how the store is designed for the standard stock items that U.S. Air Filtration has. And then the other beauty of this is just the amazing customer portal aspect of it, which for manufacturers, repeat orders are so huge. They're having to make these orders over and over and again. So to be able to have a place where customers can go and very easily be able to see their past orders, but even more cool to have like a requisition list, which is like, here's your master list. For example, we have one here for this particular piece of equipment where a purchaser who hasn't purchased their parts, it's time for them to purchase again. They don't have to go and look and figure out what's my part number again, or take a picture of the part and have to figure it out. They just log into their account here and they have a nice, easy list of all of the parts, the specific SKUs, and the quantities of what they need for that specific piece of equipment. And so from a user perspective, it just makes it so easy for them to just very simply just add to cart those items and reorder in a very simple way. So that is my and then we have our learning center, which I have to talk about the learning center. So for anybody who's just like new, trying to understand and learn and understand what's next, this was really the first step for U.S. Air Filtration, was to have some sales and marketing enablement and create this really robust learning center to help educate those customers so that they were ready for e-commerce, right? And so that's what this learning center really allows for, is to help answer a lot of those questions and get them to the point where they're ready to make that purchase. So that is my tour. That is the tour of the beautiful U.S. Air Filtration at a very high level. There's a lot more meat there, but we can keep talking.
Big round of applause. And let's give, let's give some credit. Big shout out to our friend Thayer. Let's give a shout out to Sarah, Chris Carson, Aaron. So that's the team at Above the Fray. Timothy, thank you for everybody behind the scenes at Adobe. There's a lot of muscle that came into the project. So thank you to you guys and your team. Chris Watson, my friend, kudos to you, Tim, everybody. We came down for a discovery process. We had months into it prior to even that. You've had a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I know we're coming into time. So Chris Watson, any final thoughts, words of wisdom, anything that you want to share going through this e-commerce journey that you want to share with everybody today? Are you on mute, Chris?
Just
there you go.
Again, understanding, the purpose of what it is you're trying to do, and then just know, like Noah said, and Timothy, once it's up, it's not over, right? I think that's one of the mistakes we made early on, is we thought, okay, it's up, we're done, we can walk away now. Just let the money roll in, right? It's not how that works. So, but it's good. It's, and again, understanding why we're doing it. We understand, like, okay, we don't want it to just be done. Like, we want to develop it more. And like the areas that the customers are using and seeing value in, like, we want to reinvest in that. We want to build that out more. We want to give them more resources. So it's, it's going to be an ongoing process, but it should be, a positive process. So.
Yeah. And just, look at what you've done for a competitive advantage, putting US Air in just a great position, making it easy for your customers. Timothy, you mentioned, like, I love that word, frictionless. We use that all the time. And so just, the future is just looking so bright. We're just so half full, just full of gratitude for, like, everybody. It takes a village. And what I love, a big theme, again, if you're new to e-commerce and you're like, hey, how do I get this started? Noah, you're hitting it on the head, man. Like, it's like that gym membership. When you get that new website up, it's like, all right, here we go. Here come the orders. We certainly want them to come in, but that's where you need a DMG marketing team. It takes SEO. There's a lot of advertising that needs to be behind the scenes, but it's like having that gym membership. Noah, parting words of wisdom, anything that you want to share with folks, kind of this project with US Air, or for others that are considering going down that Adobe route or e-commerce?
No, I just I'm shocked right now that a new revelation that, you know, that gym membership I bought and haven't gone once, and that's why I'm not He-Man yet.
Why don't I see any results,
Yeah.
right? It's like that
Yeah.
treadmill corner collecting clothes. Like, why don't I see results, right? And that's it, like every website. That's what it is,
Yeah.
man, right? You got to hit the gym. And you guys do an amazing job of, like, you know, that health, I call it, you know, kind of like that healthcare service, that ongoing relationship, you know, so it's not like you're just kind of like, yeah, here you go. Good luck with that. And we'll see you guys later. Talk, you know, just, and I know we're coming into time, just last parting words on your end. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of use that analogy sometimes. You said healthcare, but like, you know, it's Zoom care versus like a family practitioner, or like a, you know, a primary care doctor that's worked with your family for generations. You know, that's the difference. And there's a place for Zoom care in this world, but it's, you know, and I go to Zoom care for things, but, you know, not for something like this. And really, I would love to, there's a bunch of sound bites and quotes from both Timothy and Chris, Nicole, yourself, Kurt, that I think are just fantastic. This has actually been a really great discussion. I think, you know, folks can get a lot from this. I don't think we were just glad handing each other here. I think we were talking about some of the hard truths. And if I'm listening to something, that's what I want to hear. I don't want to just hear the you know, the wins. I want to hear where the challenges were. So I think, you know, I don't have much more to say other than, you know, rewind this and listen again. There was some really good stuff. I'm going to do that myself. Also, come to New York next week.
Yeah, come and do it. We'll give a shout out. And that's, you know, and the thing is, like, having those healthy, tough conversations of like, hey, you know, raising your hand, I don't understand this. Like this, you know, Chris Watson, we've had that, you know, many times. Like, I don't understand this. Like, you know, Kurt, that's what you're here for. Like Noah, like, you know, you and I've had, you know, we have a great relationship where I text you like, hey, dude, we need to have a talk. And like, you know, we have a situation. How can we get through this? And the thing is, it's like we're all on the same page. We're on the same team. We're trying to get in the end zone together. And so, you know, when it's just making magic to get to the other side. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits, like, you know, have the end in mind, right? Always have the end in mind. Timothy Lee, my friend, parting words of wisdom, anything that you want to share with folks as we wind down.
I'll keep it to a few cliches, one of which is if you're not thinking about e-commerce, you're behind. The reason I say that is because the trend, especially in manufacturing, when you talk to merchants and clients or consultants in the space, anybody on this call, we see a driving adoption or individuals who have adopted e-commerce. And that goes on to my second cliche, which is that if it was easy, everybody would do it. So, you know, if this was $1 million business people could turn on, I would be doing it today. If I could just set up a dropship business downstairs and automate it, I'd be doing it today. That's not the way it is, but that doesn't mean that that's not what it can become. So the idea is that we start investing in a solution that gives us this baseline functionality to transition that relationship online. And then we continue to build the experience so that it does become that revenue generating and then also revenue increasing arm of our business. But it does take work and drive. And I know Chris, Noah, Kurt, Nicole, y'all have been putting in the blood, sweat, and tears. So I'll give you that. And then the final cliche I'll kind of end it out with is just that there is, well, I forgot it, but no time like the present. I guess that was the first one, but you know, we'll leave it at that.
So Timothy, we on our little program, we have like little drop the mic moments, but then when somebody really takes it to the next level, we just call it the moment of silence. So let's just take, you know, it's much time here in the Eastern time zone. So let's just kind of soak in all this wonderful magic that happened here today. Nicole, takeaways, feedback, anything that you want to close us out with?
Yeah, I think I got to just second everything Timothy you just said. If it was easy, everyone, if it was easy, if it wasn't easy, everyone would do it. Did I get that right? Oh my gosh, I botched it already. Anyway, that's so true because this journey has been a huge challenge, but it's been so rewarding and it's incredibly exciting. Like when we first got the first sale on the store, I literally did a happy dance at my desk. I was like singing, like, oh my gosh, like this is for real. And it's very exciting to be able to see like orders are coming through now on a regular basis. You know, we're actually getting revenue from this platform and there's so much that we're working on in terms of how we're going to advertise and all of these things. And it's just very exciting to see the momentum that's happening and what the opportunities are and even how we can continue to build the store even more to create an even cooler customer experience. So I'm just like super excited, but manufacturers do need to realize that it is a challenging process and you have to go into it knowing that there's going to be difficult decisions that you're going to have to make. There's going to be stakeholders that you're going to have to get buy-in. There's going to be pushback. that's part of the process. That's part of any change. And you just have to be realistic and know that that's a given. And you just have to really just push forward in those difficult moments if you want to make something really cool.
Takes a few bruises, right? No scars, right? Just a few bruises, no scars. So, all right, guys, we're going to wind down, and I'm going to close out with this. Your e-commerce store can and will be potentially treat it like an employee and treat it like one of your absolute top employees. Not to diminish or discount your incredible staff, but if you can just treat it as one of your greatest assets, that's going to make life a lot easier. So, Chris Watson, we salute you. We applaud you. Thank you, brother, for bringing on and sharing your experience here. Noah, brother, appreciate you. Meet Magento next week on Tuesday. One of our keynotes is actually on the stage here today, but I know you and your team have put in just talk about blood, sweat, and tears. So there's a big event at next week. We can get that in the chat, Nicole. We'll get this in the link for LinkedIn. Timothy, we appreciate you, brother. Great to hang out with you. Go Bruins. Nicole, have a great time in the Big Easy. Have a great time. Just keep manufacturing e-commerce success, and you'll be rocking it. So, all right, we're going to close out, and everybody have an amazing, incredible day. Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.